Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. All right, we're good. Okay, what is up, guys? How's it going? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're all having a great day. Excited to talk to you guys here on this Tuesday. We're obviously going to tune into Will Muschamp's presser at 12:30, as I'm sure many of you remember last week. Did not get to do that because I had the DJ Swearinger interview. So now we get to tune in. I'm excited to hear what Champ and all the guys have to say. Obviously a big week, LSU. So SEC football 2, what's up? Go Cox. Ethan, what's up? Philip Carter-Harris, what's up? Townsend Hamilton, Brennan questionable for the South Carolina game. Yeah, I saw that. Crazy. It's crazy because I'm trying to get a gauge on this game and get a feel. And Terrence Marshall obviously is playing. I think he was kind of questionable for a second there. But, Miles Brennan questionable for the game. And Ed Orgeron, it didn't sound great yesterday. And behind him, they have 2 true freshmen. Neither have ever played, basically. Never played an SEC game. So, if he doesn't play, who knows? Who knows what might happen? So, it's crazy. I'm like I said, I'm keeping a very close eye on it, obviously. By the way, reminder, episode 300 of the Spurs Up Show dropped today. The podcast dropped today. Me and Alex McGrath talking about the Auburn game, breaking down the LSU game, looking ahead. But episode 300, man, officially dropped. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Obviously the people tuned in. Thank you to everybody who made it possible to get to 300 episodes. It's crazy. I was thinking to myself this morning, was on a little morning walk, and I don't know, I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, man, if you'd have told me when I recorded episode 1 that there would be an episode 300, I don't know if I'd have believed you. I really don't. So really appreciate everybody that tunes in, consumes the content. Like I said, takes time to share it, everything else, like it, whatever, support, just any type of way. Thank you, because without you guys, obviously, it would not be possible. So it's crazy. Yep, episode 300 today, and cheers to 300 more. So, yeah, but again, tune in. That came out this morning. Alex McGrath and I talking as we do each and every single Tuesday about South Carolina. We broke down that 30-22 win over Auburn and then looked ahead to the LSU game, which I'm very, very excited about, very intrigued about. I'm kind of got mixed feelings on it right now. I'll start diving into LSU really, really hard later today and especially tomorrow. But, going on the road to Baton Rouge, night game, 7 o'clock kick. Again, Will Muschamp going to speak today here in 30 minutes, and we're going to tune into that. I'm excited for it. Excited to hear what Muschamp has to say. This is a big week. The more you win, the bigger they get. So if you keep winning games, they keep getting bigger, and this is a big one, no question. So SEC football 2. Tell me what your ad is. I'll follow you back. I don't know if I would have seen. If I missed it, I apologize when you followed. Just let me know your at, and I'll follow you back. Tyler Logan, we have a way of letting first-timers shine like the pros. Let's hope that's not the case in 2020. Yeah, listen, I understand that to a degree, and I know that's happened to Carolina in the past, but I'm going to feel pretty darn good if they're starting a true freshman against our defense. I'll tell you that right now. So, really, I can tell you early, again, I haven't dove into LSU too deep yet, but really the premier matchups in this game are going to be on the outside. You look at Terrence Marshall for LSU, J.C. Horn on Terrence Marshall, and then Derek Stingley against Shi Smith. That's going to be the premier matchups. That's going to be the premier matchups in this football game, and I'm really, really excited to watch them. again, this secondary, this defense will get another test. Again, whoever's playing quarterback, that's going to be a big storyline in this game. But yeah, secondary going to test. JC will get another test. JC should probably get another opportunity to show his skills off. Terrence, I have to think, I don't think LSU will be foolish enough to test JC Horn over and over and over again like Auburn did, but they got to go to Terrence Marshall. That's one of their guys, and they got to find a way to get in the ball. We'll see if they play, Eric Henry called it cat defense, if they play cat defense and have JC Horn follow him around the whole game. But I think that's probably what they should do. And he's their number one target, and I assume they're going to try to go to him early and often. So, JC's going to have an opportunity, man. He's going to have an opportunity to prove himself yet again. So I think it should be a lot of fun. Those matchups on the outside are going to be really, really big time this weekend. So, Philip Carter-Harris, Spurs Up Show Polo. Let's go. Appreciate it, man. That's awesome. Appreciate it. SEC Football Tube hoping the Gamecocks D will feast on those inexperienced quarterbacks. I can't see Brennan playing with the leg injury. Yeah, lower body injury. It's not sounding like he's going to play. So, which is again crazy. I mean, it's let me check. I wonder if the spread has been affected at all. I'm assuming when they rule he's out 100%, that'll change it because there's just I don't know how LSU could still be a touchdown favorite if he's not playing. Let's see. Okay. So the line opened up at 6.5. It actually, I saw it yesterday. It jumped up to LSU minus 7.5. Now it's back down to 6.5. Also, the over-under has dropped 2 points from 59.5 to 57.5. So I think that's because of the rumors of Miles Brennan probably not playing. I think that's what it has to come back to for sure. Which, if he's not playing, the under might be a really, really good play. I'm gonna give my best bet tomorrow. Obviously, I haven't decided yet, but I don't know. Under 57.5. If there's no Miles Brennan, that might be the move. To be honest with you, that might be the move. So let's see. Jonathan Moffrey, do you think we will get in the top 25 if we pull off this win, even though the media hates both teams? Yeah, if South Carolina wins this football game, I think they're in the top 25, 100%. 100%, I think Carolina's in the top 25. Yeah, guys, appreciate you all tuning in, taking your questions, comments, everything else, your calls, 843-790-3377. Also want to tell you about my friends over at Yardware really quickly. I'm looking at the sign in my studio. If you haven't done so, check them out, yardwaresigns.com. That's yardwaresigns.com. It's a must-have for any Gamecock fan. Seriously, I would, even if they weren't sponsoring me, I'd probably be plugging them, and I know I would have one of these because these things are fire. They're only $34.95. Holidays are coming up. The perfect gift for any Gamecock fan. They're a must-have for any Gamecock fan. You can put them in your yard, your studio. You can put them in your living room. You can put them in your man cave, your garage, whatever. This thing's awesome. So check them out. Just want to plug them real quick. Yardware Signs. That's yardwaresigns.com. Check them out. Let's see. Lance Player, what's up, man? Yes, Savannah Webster. It sounds like Terrence Marshall's going to play for sure. Miles Brennan is a big questionable, major questionable. So we'll see. Travis Will, I'm sure LSU has a running game lurking around their LSU. Yeah, I'm sure they do. But obviously, if you lose your starting quarterback, that is a massive injury. That's a huge loss. So, yeah, if you're big into gambling, you might want to jump on South Carolina at that numbers you can get it because it might drop a ton if when he's ruled out, if he is ruled out. So, Carolina Titan, those true wide receiver DB matchups are rare. JC shadowing Williams last week was very impressive because it rarely happens in college. It'll be interesting to see if Stingley follows shy like JC did. Yeah, I mean, I think he will. I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't. And I think JC is going to follow Terrence Williams around. So, again, the matchups on the outside, that's going to be the area you want to keep an eye on. I mean, obviously, the Gamecocks, you got to run the football. South Carolina has to be able to run the football to open up the pass, in my opinion. So, I mean, that's the biggest key for your offense to get your offense going is, get the run going. But those matchups on the outside are going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. So, for sure. Phil Carter-Harris, with this recent news and how LSU's performed this year, now it's time for Carolina to go for the jugular. Yeah, I mean, you got a huge – again, you have a huge opportunity. I don't want to sound like a broken record because I said that last week, but it's here again. I mean, you have another huge opportunity yet again. And again, like I said, the more you win, you keep winning games, they're going to keep getting bigger. So, you look at this game. It's a huge game. I mean, it is a huge game for South Carolina football, for the program, for not just this season, but the program as a whole. So, yeah, it's a massive game. Owen Turner to Shy have a big game this week. And Sun some more DBs. It's crazy. I keep week after week after week saying, there's no way Shy Smith has that type of game. They're going to try to take him away. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. I guess at some point I just have to give him his due because the dude has continued to go off. And, I mean, it does kind of baffle me that defenses are still allowing us to force feed. But, again, Shy's getting open. He's winning his matchups. Kudos to him. So, does he have 8 catches again? I mean, it's tough to predict that going into a game where he's probably going up against the best defensive back in the country. And that's all due respect to J.C. Horn, but Derek Stingley is on a different – I mean, he's the elite of the elite. legitimate first-round bona fide stud, a legitimate DB. And I'm not saying JC's not, obviously. He's right there with Stingley, but that's who he's going up against. So it's tough for me to say he's going to have 8 catches again or anything crazy like that. So Jonathan Moffett, have you heard anything about Izzy coming back? We're going to need him for Gilbert. I have not. I'm assuming Will Muschamp will maybe address that today. We just got to hope and pray he's healthy. I mean, that's all you can really do. So Lance Player, this game's going to come down to our defense getting pressure. If we do a lot, we're winning 34-27. Again, I think with Miles Brennan out, man, that might be a little high scoring. I think that might be, and I know LSU's defense is not very good. They haven't been very good this season, but I don't know. Again, I'm conflicted. I'm not ready to make a prediction. I'm not even ready to pick the best bet yet. I don't know. I'm just kind of conflicted. I keep going back and forth on it. LSU is just such a mystery to me because when I think of LSU, like I think they're still a really talented football team, but hell, they lost to Missouri and they looked ugly doing it. So, I mean, why, it's baffling to me how bad LSU is. So, yeah. Jerry Withrow, is the spread too high? I think the spread's about right. I mean, if Miles Brennan is playing, now if he's out, I think it's a certainly drop. But, I think it's about right. You're going on the road to Tiger Stadium, a night game. I mean, it's about right. I'd say it's about right. So, let's see. Phil Carter Harris, if JC and Izzy both start on Saturday, I'll feel a lot more confident. Izzy has to find a way to get back on the field for this one. And I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons they held him out last week. Heck, I don't know. I mean, you would hope, especially with him being out last week, he's had time to heal it, rest it up, whatever, and you just hope that by the time we get to Thursday, Friday, and especially Saturday, he's ready to go. So you're going to need him. You're going to need him. Savannah Webster, besides Stingley, who else? That's the question. They've been bad defensively, but who's the question? Who do we have that's going to beat them offensively? I mean, maybe Muse, maybe Leggett steps up this week, maybe Josh Van steps up, maybe Dak Joyner gets more targets, but that's the question. That's the question on the outside of Shy and Stingley. So, SEC football too, I think Shy Smith and J.C. Horn will have another big day. Looking at the current circumstances, it's certainly possible. No question. Excuse me, guys. Whew. Brian Welch, Stingley's the real deal. This is the weekend when Shy really needs to take that next step to prove he's an elite wideout. Yeah, again, all you can ask for is the opportunity. All you can ask for as a player is an opportunity like this, and to go up against one of the best in the country. I mean, that's got to be exciting for Shy Smith as a player. So I'm excited to watch it personally. So, KG Drew player going to Baton Rouge has me scared as hell. Trust me, I get it. I understand why. I mean, it's still a tough place to play. I think even with 20% capacity, it's going to be a tough place to play. So I totally get it. By the way, guys, Overtime Bar and Grill watch party this weekend. I've also got a massive surprise coming for you guys later this week. I'm going to leave it at that. That's it. Got a big surprise upcoming later this week, and I'm very excited. I think you guys will be very surprised. I'll put it that way. So let's see. SEC football too. LSU is still the real Death Valley, though, not those jokes from the upstate. Yeah. Get your Death Valley jokes in this week for sure. Let's see. Owen Turner, do you think that Jalen Brooks will ever get cleared for the season? I'm not holding my breath. I highly doubt it. I mean, the NCAA seems to hate us for whatever reason. This will be a great week for it to happen. I can tell you that. This will be a great week for it to happen. Let's see. Townsend Hamilton, is it Spurs Up t-shirts? We do have t-shirts at tsus.store. We do have t-shirts. Lance player Dak Joyner will make a big play in this game. I certainly hope so. You need the guys to step up still. I mean, it's still a thing. So it's still a thing. You need the guys to step up. So bottom line, you got to have other guys outside of Shy. Yeah, the surprise, you will see it all over YouTube, social media, everything. So, going to be a lot of fun. Again, taking your questions, comments, calls, guys. We're going to tune into the Will Muschamp presser at 12:30, by the way, just like we did a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, didn't get to do it last week because I was chatting with DJ Swearinger. So we're going to get back at that again. Very excited. I'm pumped, excited and intrigued to hear what Will Muschamp has to say today. Not expecting anything crazy, kind of expecting just a normal Will Muschamp presser, but still, the pressers are always more fun to tune into after a win. That is for darn sure. So Townsend Hamilton, yeah, I'd love to see Key Mullins get more involved at tight end, no question. Brad Long, if Doty's the playmakers he was advertised in camp, he needs to be on the field, especially with so many drop balls. We don't need to play ball with a what-if mindset. Worry about that if it happens. Yeah, like I said, I don't even care who's on the field. Just find guys that can make plays. I'd be down to try Doty, no doubt. I'd be down to try Doty. So, Owen Turner, Kevin Harris for 120 plus on the ground. Could definitely see it. I could definitely see it. As a whole, I mean, yeah, you're going to have to be able to run the football. So you're going to have to be able to run the football. So, again, taking your questions, comments, calls, guys. Like I said, we are going to tune in. Okay, I got you. I got you, SEC football, too. I got you. We are going to tune into the Will Muschamp presser. So, NC State rolling out some new unis for this week. So, like I said, guys, quick reminder, check out the podcast that dropped this morning. Be sure to tune in. Episode 300. Thank you guys for the support, the love, because without you, 300 episodes certainly could not have happened, and it's crazy to think about. But yeah, podcast dropped this morning, episode 300. Alex McGrath and I talking about that big win over Auburn and also kind of looking ahead to LSU. It's interesting because Alex was on the 2007 team that played at LSU. So he had some very interesting insight on what a road trip to Baton Rouge might look like for our guys this weekend. Obviously, going to be a little bit different, but he still had some very interesting insight on that road trip and what that was like for those guys. So, Tyler, no, I want to see Van get more targets as well. He's coming on at the right time. Leggett hasn't impressed me this year so far. He dropped that one ball, and I didn't see him get another target the rest of the game. I mean, yeah, Josh Van had one catch last game, so I guess if he's coming on, I guess that counts as he's coming on. I mean, like I said, you just got to find other guys, whether it's Van, whether it's Leggett, whether it's Doty, whether it's Joyner, whether it's Powers, whether it's Jakari Caldwell. No matter who it is, somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to step up. So, SEC football too. Appreciate the love, brother. Yeah, trying to hit 1,000 subs. If you're tuned in and you're not subscribed, or if you're on Facebook and you're not subbed to the YouTube page, do it. Please do it. Would really appreciate it. Matthew Perry, uniform prediction this weekend. That's a very good question. Very good question because LSU wears white at home. So what are we going to wear? I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. That is a great question. For some reason, trying to think. For some reason, I think white, black, white would be fire. I don't know. I'm kind of down for whatever. We're definitely not wearing gray uniforms again. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So I'd love to see a garnet helmet. I will tell you that. I would love to see a garnet helmet. So, but I have no idea. Honestly, that's a great question. Great question. Owen Turner, does Ortre Smith ever come back to football? Again, that's another great question. I mean, you never know. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. It's tough for me to say. I know with his injury history and everything, it wouldn't shock me if he didn't. So I can't say 100% yes or no, but it wouldn't shock me if it wouldn't shock me if he didn't. So. Brian Welch, where do you think our program would be today if we would have stayed in the ACC or if we would have stayed at FBS Independent? Again, that's so tough to say because there's so many hypotheticals. Would you have been able to recruit it the same way? Would you gotten the funding the same way you did being in the SEC? I understand the challenges and I understand the question you're asking because I've made the argument too. I mean, you think about it, South Carolina will have a couple conference titles that they played in the ACC from 2010 to 2013. Maybe even a couple national titles, but, you don't. So, I mean, it's tough to say, man. It's tough to say. Very tough to say. Like I said, guys, taking your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. That is the number. Also, if you want to call in, leave a voicemail, or leave your questions for the Thursday show, previewing the game against LSU, breaking everything down, be sure to do that as well. Very excited to talk LSU. I'm pumped for this game. I mean, I am fired up for this football game. There's no other way to put it. I'm pumped. Again, it's the more you win, the bigger they get. And you beat Vandy, cool. You put one foot in front of the other, you got things rolling, you got some positive momentum. Boom, you beat Auburn all of a sudden. You beat a top 15 team. You're back to 500. This one has become just that much bigger. So I'm fired up for it, man. Again, you've got a huge opportunity on the road, a place you haven't beaten LSU since what, 1994? I believe it is 1994. Haven't beaten them since then. And I think that you've only beaten them twice in your history. Is that right? I'm going to look it up because I'm curious now. You are, yep, 2-18. 2-18 against LSU. Yikes. And yep, your last win was 18-17 in 1994. 18-17. So, yep, it's a big game. Again, it's always big when you can do something that hasn't really been hardly done in your history at all. So that's a big opportunity. And again, just building momentum. I mean, man, if you can get to 3-2 going in the bye week, I mean, sky's the limit for this team. Sky's the limit for this team for sure. So, Savannah Webster, how much of a factor is them having an extra week to prepare, in your opinion? I mean, it's a little bit of a factor for sure. I know they've been, it wasn't their doing. They wanted to play, I think. I mean, I know they had all the COVID stuff, whatever. I mean, anytime a team gets an extra week to prepare, it's going to help you out. Your guys are going to be more rested, healed up, whatever. But, I don't know. Is it a lead storyline going in the game? I mean, it's a talking point, but I'm not going to, if South Carolina goes out there and loses, I'm not going to say, oh, it's because LSU had a bye week. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? You got to play with it. That's all you can do. So. Yeah, Eric Sullivan, Gamecock legend. I forgot you were on the team that beat LSU in '94. Crazy. I was 3 years old. Don't remember that one. No, awesome. I'm probably going to post some clips from that game at some point this week, just because I think it's cool to relive it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that game is on YouTube. Yeah, and I forget who I was talking to. I heard that from somebody else that who was I talking to? Gosh, this is going to kill me. Anyways, I was talking to somebody else, though, and they said they were at that LSU game, said it was a monsoon. LSU, they said, wasn't great, but either way, got the big win. So who gives a damn, right? You get win's a win. Who cares? But let's see. I think that game is on YouTube. Yeah, sure enough, it is. Sure enough, that game is on YouTube. So I'll have to definitely pull some clips from that, without a doubt. Carolina Titan, it would have been great to see a JC Jamar Chase matchup if he didn't opt out. Yeah, I agree. That would have been awesome. I mean, I still think the JC Terrence Marshall matchup would be awesome, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. That'd have been really fun to watch. John Gibbs, if we take this week, then I think a 7-win season is perfectly reasonable. Name on the jersey doesn't define who you are, and winning should be the expectation no matter who we play. I mean, listen, yeah, you win this game, sky's the limit. I mean, realistically, you could win 7 games, at least 6. I mean, no doubt. I think even right now, even if you lose this game, you could win 5 or 6. So, I mean, yeah. Again, you win this one. Sky's the limit, man. Sky's the limit for sure. Trying to see here. They've got the and the game was in Baton Rouge too. 14-12 at halftime. Dang. Oh, there you go. Big defensive stop. Picked it off. I was going to say, if LSU would wear their purple at home, we ought to wear the same exact combo we wore that year, that garnet, white, garnet. Why not, right? Bring back some good juju. So, again, guys, taking your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. We're going to tune into the Will Muschamp presser in 5 minutes, by the way. So, get your questions in, then we're going to tune into that. So, Hunter Brown, if we win 7, I think we get a big-time bowl matchup. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, again, already every team's making a bowl game. But, yes, we would get a very, very favorable bowl matchup for sure. No question. I wonder if the bowls are holding their breath hoping that they can get at least close to full capacity stadiums, or maybe like half capacity or something like that. So I don't know. That's interesting. I wonder. I just wonder if that's what they're thinking. Because, I mean, you never know. I mean, that's a couple months from now. It could be possible. Let's see. Phil Carter here. 7 wins would be an amazing accomplishment for this coaching staff and players. And all SEC schedule is nothing to balk at. Oh, dude, it'd be Will Muschamp should be coach of the year if we go 7-3. I mean, I'll say that right now. I mean, I've had my my comments and thoughts on Will Muschamp are well documented, but I can tip my cap when it's necessary. And if we go 7-3, he ought to be named coach of the year. But what I don't want to do also is overreact to the Auburn win. Let's see what happens this weekend. There's a lot of football to be played. So, because this kind of reminds me last year after South Carolina beat Georgia, and I heard people saying, "Oh man, Carolina, they're still in the running for the SEC East title," and it's like, relax. Now, granted, I think this team is better than last year's team. I don't see that happening again with the wheels falling off per se, but let's take it one at a time. That's all I'm saying. 2020 is a crazy year. You've got a ton of toss-up games left, but that means you could lose them too. Excuse me. So I say let's try not to overreact to the Auburn game just quite yet. So, Ryan Crisp, how possible is it for South Carolina going to run from here like Tennessee had at the last half of last season? There's still questions that will have to be answered for sure. You still need to continue to develop on offense and find somebody outside of Shy and keep the running game going defensively. You've still got to plug some loose ends, I think, even in the secondary. We just need to continue to see the secondary develop and grow. I'm seeing some nice things from guys like Jamie and John Dixon and Shiloh and other guys like that. But, so this is an imperfect football team still, but it's a wacky year, man. It's a crazy year. I mean, I'd say Georgia right now is a loss, but all the other ones are toss-ups. All the other ones are very winnable. So, a run could be possible. But like I said, I don't want to overreact to the Auburn game. You got to go 1 week at a time. You can't let it get to your head. And I'm sure it's not the guys in that room, in that building, whatever. But, this LSU one's kind of the one where it's like if you win this one, then all of a sudden it's like, holy smokes. Like, we got something going. So, let's see. Travis Royal, stay the course. You know how we do, beat Bama and then go to Kentucky and lose. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I don't want to overreact to one game. I don't want to overreact. I don't want fans to overreact. But it's nice to be happy and soak it all in. And South Carolina fans, players, coach, everybody should be feeling confident about South Carolina going to LSU. But like you said, it's kind of dangerous to start saying, 7-3, 8-2, even 6-4. It's like, let's see how this weekend goes. So, all right, let's go ahead. I'm going to share this screen here. Phil Carter here says he'll write a letter of apology to Muschamp and send a bottle of whiskey with it if he gets 7 wins. Dude, I said if he went 5-5 or better, I would I'll write an apology. Let me application window, Chrome tab, share audio. All right, you guys can see that, correct? Good. Okay. You'll have to let me know that the audio is working, by the way. No, okay. It should be working. It's not, obviously, there's no audio right now. Once this presser starts, you guys let me know. So. Hunter Brown, I'm not convinced Georgia's a loss for sure with Bennett playing. I think anyone could beat them. Well, one thing I don't think Stetson Bennett's going to hold on the job all season. The other thing is, again, it's Georgia, it's Carolina, Georgia. It's always a tough game. I'm not saying it won't be a tough game, but I'm just thinking Georgia's on a mission to win the SEC East. That game is the second to last game of the season. You beat them last year. The revenge factor on their minds. I'm not banking on it. You know what I mean? Like that's one that I'm simply just not banking on. So, So, anyways, yeah, hopefully somebody asks about Israel McQuamu. I'm sure they will. I'm sure somebody's going to ask about Israel McQuamu. So, if you guys see me looking down, by the way, during this, it's because I'm tweeting updates. So, all righty. Phil Carter here's what's the SEC East standings look like right now? Imagine if we lose the first two SEC East games and somehow win the SEC East title. I'd have to look, but yeah, that would be insane. I mean, any scenario where South Carolina wins the SEC East title would be absolutely insane. I guess it'd be on brand for 2020 though. All right, he should be live in just a second. Here we go.
All right, we're ready for Coach Muschamp. We'll let the coach make an opening statement, and then we'll open up for questions.
Y'all ready? We looking forward to going to Baton Rouge Saturday night against a very good LSU team. Got a lot of respect for the team and obviously the program, having worked there before.
Can y'all hear that?
Ed's done an outstanding job winning the national championship last year. Did a fantastic job with that football team. And they're very explosive offensively this year. Miles Brennan's already thrown for 11 touchdown passes in 3 games. They're spreading the field and making you defend 53 yards wide and 120 deep, excuse me. So they make you to defend the entire field, create a lot of space plays with some really good players, create some tempo and some look back and some different things to change the tempo of the game. But a lot of talented guys offensively, defensively. I think the world of Bo Pelini, and I think he's an outstanding defensive coordinator, one of the best defensive guys I've been around. 2 really good corners in Stingley and Ricks are both guys. You see his coverage ability that they have. They're really big inside up front, hard to move up front. So we'll have our work cut out for us. They got really good team speed on special teams and some very good specialists. They've always been good in the return game. So we got our work cut out for us. I thought we had a good start this morning, and we need to clean some things up tomorrow and have another good work day, and then have a good Thursday and a good walkthrough on Friday. And we head to Baton Rouge, and I'll open up for any questions.
Ben with the first one.
Hey, Will. I know that their starting quarterback Brendan is questionable, and I guess what is kind of the challenge in the process of preparing for potentially up to 3 different guys with sort of slightly different skill sets?
Well, I think that there's a lot of similarities in all of them. They're big guys. Both Finley and Max Johnson are guys we're familiar with. We've watched all of their high school tape, so we're very familiar with it. Both guys are extremely talented. Both guys can really spin it. They both have athleticism to extend plays and create some things in the run game, which they somewhat do with Brennan as best they can. So again, they've been very successful in what they do. They'll identify the things that are really good for those guys and what they feel comfortable with, and then you've got to adjust in the game to what they're doing. So those are all things that will factor into our game plan as far as whether who's up at the quarterback position, and we'll make the decisions from there as far as what we need to take in the game to be successful, whether it's Miles Brennan at quarterback or one of the 2 freshmen or both. And we'll make those adjustments on game day.
Do you guys try to ferret out any information about who will probably go during the week, or do you just kind of prepare for all of them and go from there?
You got to be prepared for everything, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket and hope it happens. So you've got to be prepared for whatever may happen on game day. And we always talk in terms of, even in situations where who the starter is going to be, you got to prepare who is the backup and what is his situation. Is he a guy with legs? So we always have those conversations in preparation for a team because of the how critical that position is and how it affects how you call a game.
Michael Espy.
Hey, Coach, when you look back on at that win on Saturday, I think maybe one of the main differences was the ability to not, abandon the run early and stick with it. So how nice was that for you to see, the effectiveness of, keep running the ball. And I guess from a play caller's perspective, does it take maybe some time to develop the patience to keep at it when things maybe aren't necessarily going your way?
Mike, I said this in the postgame, I think that Mike Bobo has always been somebody that's going to stick to the run, whether it's been successful or not. Make adjustments in the run game based on the front you're getting, make adjustments based on where we feel like we can run the ball and be most successful doing that. And I feel like as a play caller, Mike has always been that way. And he's always a guy that's willing to run the ball on third down, willing to do the things we've got to do to stay on the field as far as those things are concerned. And that's one of the things to me that makes him a really good play caller, because a lot of guys abandon the run once it doesn't work and it becomes a one-dimensional game. And when it's a one-dimensional game, you're playing into the defense's hands. So there's no question that's I think a talent of Mike's to be able to, stay with the run when we need to, and be able to make the adjustments in the run game, which I really go back to the Vanderbilt game. I go back to the first week against Tennessee. In the second half, we ran the ball much better. And then Saturday against Auburn, we ran the ball much better. Our yards per carry, I think, was upwards of 6 or 7 yards in the third quarter per carry. And of course, we don't get the erase of the 90-yarder on the second series of the game. We're talking about a different run game in the first half. So it is what it is.
Rick Henry.
Hey, Will. Deshaun Fenwick told us that after 2 wins, the guys seem more dialed in. Is this what you're seeing at practice? And after 2 weeks of winning, does it make it easier for you and your assistants to teach and get your points across? Or do you have to raise your level of intensity to make sure that the guys, they remain focused on how important it is now to stay at this level?
Well, I meet with our leadership group every Tuesday morning and talk to them about the week, talk to them about the expectation, talk to them about how our staff and myself perceive the game we're heading into. I thought we had a really good talk this morning, and I think that group, in my opinion, has done the best job since I've been here as far as handling the team and managing the football team and carrying the message. And we've had to do less as a staff as far as those things are concerned, of the expectation in the locker room between each player and each team member, of the expectation of every day and what is going to be expected of a Tuesday practice and a Wednesday practice and a Thursday practice, because it really all goes back to your preparation. You win games on Saturday because of how you prepare throughout the week, and that's what we've got to understand, and I think this team understands that. But I think I don't know that our guys weren't any dialed in when we were 0-2 than we are 2-2. I think that our guys have had a good focus for the most part. I think every team has guys that are really dialed in all the time and focused. And I think they've got guys that a small percentage that need to make sure that we're getting them dialed in and getting them focused. And it's your job as a coach positionally on each side of the ball and as a head coach to understand those guys you've got to dial in. And so I've got a pretty good idea of that on our football team as well. But I've been very pleased with the leadership of this team and how they've handled a very difficult offseason as we're still going through a pandemic here, and how they're managing our football team as peers.
Colin Taylor.
Yeah, well, I guess this time.
Short honeymoon.
Hey, I didn't no honeymoon just yet. I can't miss the teleconference and the weekly press conference in the same.
Yeah, I thought your interview was very average after your wedding. I thought it was. It looked like you were kind of down. I didn't understand that.
Can't get too high, can't get too low, right?
That's right. 24 hours. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Last year around this time, you guys obviously beat Georgia and then ended the season 1-5. Injuries obviously played a little bit of part of that. Have you seen anything different this year around after beating a ranked team with 6 games left to play? And kind of how do you avoid maybe the letdown you guys experienced after that Georgia game?
Well, I think that, I've seen a team from this year, from game 1 to game 4, that's improved every week. And I would say that in all 3 phases. I think that after the Georgia game offensively, we didn't make much improvement at all. And we lost confidence, which affects your entire team, not just your offense. But that's what I've seen, that this team continues to improve. This team continues to practice the right way. That wasn't always the case last year, to be honest. And so from that standpoint, that's been very pleased. But I also think, Colin, it goes back to the leadership of the team. This has been a team that's handled how we practice and the expectation of what we need to do to prepare in order to be successful on Saturday. And I think this team has handled that pretty well. We'll see as we continue to move forward.
David.
Well, obviously, Deshaun has had some pretty good runs in backup of Kevin so far this year. When you guys are, looking at the play on the field, are there certain plays or situations where you say, I want Harris in there or I want Fenwick in there?
I'll leave that up to the offensive staff and Coach Bobo and Coach Kitchens. I do think that both runners are similar from the standpoint of the way they're running right now. I mean, they're getting behind their pads. They're very difficult guys they're creating a lot of yards after contact. They're running through contact very well. So right now, I mean, I think our staff feels very comfortable with where they are. But as far as game day is concerned, I allow, that's Coach Bobo and Coach Kitchens and, who they feel comfortable with at the time.
Mike Yuba.
Well, you mentioned it with Rick, and I know after the game you mentioned it to your players about Tuesday. We won the game on Tuesday. We won the game on Wednesday. That helped us for Saturday's game. But your players talked about how they just feel like they've been more locked in after these wins on Tuesday practices. What can you say that's just different in terms of how those practices have been these last couple of weeks in comparison to how the season started?
Well, I felt like, our best Tuesday practice was the Tuesday of Vanderbilt, coming off 0-2. One of the better practices we've had since I've been here in the season, just as far as the emotion of practice, the juice, the energy, the focus. So I don't know. I mean, I'm glad our players feel that way. That's great. Winning is contagious and that helps everything. But, I really feel like over a 4-week period that we've had pretty good preparation. We haven't had any just bad practices where I just didn't feel comfortable leaving the practice field and where we were and that things weren't correctable as far as the focus and things were concerned. So again, I want to credit our players for that. They've done a really good job. And I think that goes back to your leadership of an expectation of what a Tuesday practice around here should look like and a Wednesday practice. And as you continue to move forward.
Josh.
Will, how well does a fullback have to play to be named Offensive Player of the Week in 2020?
We're probably one of the few places in the country that happens. I think as much as anything, you got to be 100% on your blocks. You got to be able to finish. I think Adam missed 1 block and I want to say 28 to 32 snaps, something like that. I'm not positive. I don't have the snap sheet in front of me, but it was just, and didn't miss it. I mean, he just didn't clean it up as well as he should have, but very dependable, catches the ball out of the backfield. A huge factor for us on special teams is in our punt shield. He and Kier really handled that extremely well. He's covering kicks for us. It really has brought a lot to our football team, a tremendous work ethic as far as, how he practices and how he goes about his business the right way. But a great example for our young players, and especially for the young running backs in that room, of how to work and how he goes about his business. But he's was very, very clean the other night on the things we asked him to do. We felt like his role going into that game was going to be very important as far as creating some edges in the run game for us, and doing some other things that dirty work things that I don't know that a lot of guys like to do. So very proud of his performance, and his role will continue to increase on our team.
Do you remember as an SEC when you were playing, were there specific fullbacks that you hated to play?
Harold Morrow at Auburn. And then we had a guy at Georgia named Max Strong, who I was back then. It was an 8-man front. I was a strong safety. And I mean, they wouldn't let me play in the middle of the field. I could only play the flat because I wasn't athletic enough to get in the middle of the field. And my shoulders are damaged to this day because of Max Strong at practice. We had a guy named Garrison Hurst, was a tailback, and our tall sweep was our number one play. And I had to take on Max Strong in every single inside drill that we had at Georgia for the 5 years I was there. And Mac was only there for 3 out of those 5. But both shoulders, I'm going to end up having to have surgery on both of them because of Max Strong. He played at the Seattle Seahawks for, I know it was more than 10 years, 12, 14 years, blocked for Sean Alexander from Alabama in the NFL. I'd probably be the best fullback I've ever been around. Unbelievable person. From Columbus, Georgia, played at Brookstone High School. But those would be the two. Opponent-wise, Harold Morrow at Auburn, and off the top of my head, Chris Bilkey was a good player down at Florida. If I keep thinking through, I could probably name a couple more. But Mac Strong is the best fullback I've been around.
Is there anything about Adam that reminds you of Mac from
Toughness. I mean, toughness. And that, and Adam's like two engineering master's degree, and Mac was off the chart smart as well. So both guys extremely intelligent guys, but toughness and grit, both of those guys have that.
Cal Thomas.
Coach, what does a win against a ranked opponent do to the confidence of your team? And then how does that help as you guys prepare to going into this game this week?
Well, I think that, anytime, winning helps the attitude of your football team. But winning also coats and soothes things that maybe you got to correct. And that's our job as coaches, to recognize the things we've still got to improve on. And there's a lot of things on this team as well that winning sometimes covers up those things, and we think it's okay, and it's really not okay. So we've got to continue to work, continue to improve and get better in all 3 phases. But there's no question that it'll help bring confidence to your team. And I think you've also, this day and age, have to have some sort of gratification of the work that you're putting in. And that's what winning does. It justifies the work that we put in on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, and a walkthrough on a Friday, the attention and focus to detail that you have to have. And the players start understanding that's what it's going to take. So that helps reinforce how we do things.
Pete Acabelli.
Will, is there any
big.
concern that your players get caught up in the fact that LSU is 1-2 this year instead of defending national champs, or is that part of that leadership component where maybe you don't have to worry about those kind of issues as much as you might have had 2-3 years ago?
We don't need to worry about anything. We need to worry about preparing extremely well against a very good LSU team. And I would be shocked if anybody in our locker room feels that way.
Mitch Brown.
Coach, after last Tuesday, J.C. Horn said the secondary hasn't played up to their standards. And after this week, obviously Charlotte Sanders making an impact in this game, John Dixon playing the whole game, and with Izzy being out. What was your assessment through 4 games of the secondary, and how excited are you for what they can be at full strength and executing at full strength?
Well, again, I think that, man down, man up. And I think John Dixon played a really good football game against some really skilled guys, and, guys that can really run on the top end. But I thought he kept guys cut off down the field. JC's production speaks for itself. I mean, at that position is as productive a day that I've been around, as far as just a guy that was, having 2 interceptions in the field position they created, and then creating another interception, and obviously the knockdown balls against a very good player. So I thought we did much better job of covering some situations. We've got to be more disciplined in our pass rush to keep the passer in the pocket. You know, you look at the last drive, they completed one pass on a 71-yard drive, and it was all quarterback's legs of, you know, being able to keep the guy hemmed in the pocket. But I thought the coverage was better. I thought our communication, other than 2 plays, was much better than it's been. So again, I think we limited. I think we had 2 explosive passes in the game, maybe 3. But I thought we had much better coverage, much tighter coverage in situations, much more times to knock the ball off people. So that was pleasing. We got to continue to improve, because this group's throwing for 400 a game. You know, throwing the ball at a very high level to some really good players.
Hill McGranahan.
You mentioned JC's production being as high as it was. That you've seen at any point along the way in your career, have you had a corner who's trailed a receiver like y'all had with JC and Seth Williams on Saturday, or is that something that you haven't really done much over the years?
No, we match up all the time. And it was a lot of situations when you're in matchup, in a matchup situation, dictates that maybe the offense doesn't throw it to a certain person based on the coverage, based on the progression for the quarterback. But it just so happens they targeted their guy, and we had coverage, but we've always matched up.
Ben Briner.
Hey, Will, a couple questions. First of all, you mentioned Adam Prentice being a smart guy. I mean, how does he stack up with some of the smarter guys you've had? I mean, is he top 10%, top 5%? And also, how do you feel the receivers are coming outside of Shy are kind of coming along and getting up to speed as sort of reliable playmakers?
Well, I mean, Adam's bright. We have a lot of bright guys on the team. I mean, I don't measure anybody's IQ, but he is a bright guy. And then, we got to continue to have guys, step up at wide out. Xavier's done some nice things, and Josh had a nice catch down on our sideline to turn it up right there to get the ball to the 1-yard line. DeCarrion's done some nice things. Jakari Caldwell is going to get some more opportunities this week. A guy that still coming along for us. But practice is so important, and we're here on a Tuesday, and especially when you deal with young players. All of a sudden, Tuesday practice pretty good, and then Wednesday they hit the wall, and it creates less confidence for the coaching staff, even on a Thursday practice or a Friday walkthrough. So I'm sitting here on Tuesday, may say, hey, so and so is looking really good, and then all of a sudden Friday they have 14 busts in the walkthrough. Well, they're not going to play, because if they can't get the walkthrough right, they're damn sure ain't going to get it right on Saturday. So I think sometimes there's a mixed message being delivered, because I say on a Tuesday practice, and our plan is for so-and-so to get more snaps, or for so-and-so to do this, or for so-and-so to do that. And then they don't practice very well. And it's different, I think, when it's an older player and they've done it under the lights. They've done it on the road. They've done it at Williams-Brice Stadium. And maybe they had a couple mishaps here and there, but it's a lot easier for a coach to swallow as opposed to having a very young player who has 14 busted assignments and can't get lined up in a Friday walkthrough. And I'm not referencing anybody on our team. I'm just saying sometimes people go, well, why isn't this guy playing more? Well, at the end of the day, if you can't get lined up, it's hard to play the guy. Or if he puts the ball on the ground 3 times during practice, we're not going to play the guy. I mean, those are things to me that are a little bit of a mixed message sometimes when I'm in a Tuesday press conference as opposed to when it's Saturday and we got to perform.
David.
Well, you mentioned John Dixon again. I was just wondering, was he out there with the number 1 corner spot again? Is Izzy and RJ still kind of working in that mix?
Yeah. We got Jalen Dickerson and RJ and Jamie and Shiloh Sanders all at the safety position. And then Israel at corner, JC at corner, John at corner. I'm hoping to get Cam back tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow. Israel practiced today. John practiced today. Darius Rush continues to come on for us. Jamie Robinson could be an emergency corner if we had to move somebody outside in a situation. That's what we would have done Saturday with our third corner, had that situation presented itself when we got into pregame and didn't feel like Izzy could go.
Colin Taylor.
Well, brief Wikipedia research, it looks like you and Scott Linehan were on the same Miami Dolphins staff in 2005. I know he's at LSU now as, I could think, the passing game coordinator. How have you seen him kind of revamp some of the passing stuff? And is there anything that you've seen him do with the Dolphins or in the NFL that they're doing now over at LSU?
Well, I think that they were so successful last year and the success they're having this year offensively. There's some subtle changes that maybe they haven't done as much or a little bit differently this year. But Scott is an outstanding football coach, one of the better football coaches I've ever been around. I'm very familiar with the staff. Steve Ensminger, when I was a player at Georgia, was a coach, and then I coached with him at Auburn. One of the better football coaches I've ever been around. I mean, they got a great staff, and certainly Scott and Steve are two of the best that I've been around as far as just football coaches. But I'm sure that there's been some things addition-wise, protection-wise, whatever the case may be that he has added. But, when you walk into a situation when they have the success that they've had.
Sounds like Izzy practiced today.
First 3 games of production of what they've done this year. They're doing some really good things schematically with some really good players, in my opinion. So, but I'm sure he's added a lot to the staff.
Gene Sapikoff.
Will, last year I asked you about your relatively small staff of analysts, and I think you said, more is not always better. Do you still think that? And if you do, is part of that because you'd rather allocate the money in your budget or whatever to something else that might be more helpful to winning?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that, we first got here, I hired 3 analysts on each side of the ball. We're down to 1 on each side of the ball right now and 1 on special teams. I think you can have too many ideas at times. You've got to really drill down to what you feel comfortable and what your players feel comfortable with doing. I wouldn't say that anything is a budget issue here. Coach Tanner does what we've got to do to be successful. So whether it's in recruiting, whether it's as far as our staff is concerned, whether it's whatever we need to do to be successful, that's what we're going to do. So it's not a budget issue at all. I feel very, confident in our work. I would say work power on both sides of the ball. As far as our cell scout and the different things that we do to look at, which is what a lot of analyst positions doing, is forward scouting, which we already do. And then obviously you quality control and cell scout yourself and look at the analytics, which we've got people that do that on both sides of the ball. And we also hire a firm as far as it studies our analytics that gives us information. So I feel like we've got all those things covered very well with what we've got. And it's not a budget issue at all. It's what I feel most comfortable with after going through having more. And I felt like there was a lot of dead time involved with a lot of those people on staff that weren't doing a lot for us. And we've hired actually more people in recruiting than we did when I first was here. When I first got here, I felt like that was the most important area, which we needed to hire more people, but it had nothing to do with allocating money in a different area or budget. It had nothing to do with that.
And then, Will, this is a really weird question, I admit, but a lot of fans ask this. You've coached in college, you've coached in the NFL. What would happen if one of the 2 or 3 really the best college football teams got on the field and played, not naming any team in particular, but a really bad NFL team that was, say, really poorly coached? What would happen in that game?
Well, that's a grown man's league in the National Football League. The speed of that game is much faster. The violence of that game is much more violent. And I think I would have a hard time seeing anyone in college football as a college football team with the age of those guys competing on that level, in my opinion.
Josh Kendall.
Not specific necessarily to this week, Will, but when you sit down to do a defensive game plan, is line 1 the opposing quarterback and what he's capable of doing? And if it's not sort of the starting point, at what point does that specific guy come into play?
Well, I think line 1 is who can beat us. So that might be a feature back. It might be 2 receivers. It might be the quarterback. I mean, obviously affecting the quarterback, and how are you going to affect the quarterback? Are we playing an option team? Are we playing a drop back team? Are we playing a gun run team with quarterback with legs, a guy that can throw it, a dual threat guy? So I think all of those questions, you go back into saying, okay, who are the who are the one guy, two guys, three guys, and hopefully not more than that, that can line up, and we're going to have a major issue with matchup wise. We're going to have a hard time covering this guy. We're going to have a hard time tackling this guy. We're going to have a hard time on the right side of their line because their guard and their tackle. So to me, it's the matchups that we feel like we may have to change here. For a better word, lack of a better word, in order to be successful. And I think it's identifying those things, and then figuring out how we're going to be successful and make teams try to beat you left-handed. We know that this guy can beat us, so let's make them do it with somebody else. And you attempt and try to make sure you're doing things that your players maybe that are going to give the offense problems, but it's not going to create issues for your guys thinking. Your guys can be able to react and play fast. That's why we introduce a lot in training camp as far as defensively, because I don't like introducing a new concept in week 5 and all of a sudden we're asking our guys to do something that's totally foreign to what they've ever done within our scheme. I want to be able to assimilate things and say, all right, this is like this. We've done this before. You've done this before at a high level on Saturday afternoon in a game, so we ought to be able to rep this. We're just going to call it this because it's a little something different. And to be able to have our players. But to me, it's identifying who you're going to have a hard time matching up with. And in most cases, it is the quarterback.
Phil Kornbluth.
Yeah, hey, Will. Most visiting teams fret about playing LSU in Baton Rouge at night under the lights because of the tremendous atmosphere. What do you recall about your visits there at night? And is it now maybe less of a disadvantage for the visiting team, knowing there's only going to be about 20,000 people there at most?
Are you talking about when I was at LSU or when I was an opposing coach going in there?
Yeah,
there's a difference.
Opposing. Yeah, opposing.
No, it's a very difficult place to play. They got a passionate fan base that supports the Tigers, and it's a great place to play college football. Certainly will be a different sort of atmosphere between 20 and 80,000, or 100,000, whatever they seat now. It's bigger than it was when I was there. So there's no question as far as just volume is concerned, it'll be different, but it'll be passionate. That fan base, no different than ours, is going to support the Tigers, and just like our fans support the Gamecocks. And there's no doubt about it. Very similar fan bases, in my opinion, as far as the support for their football team. So it'll be a passionate night down in the Red Stick.
Hale.
Sort of on that topic, what are your favorite memories, I guess, besides winning a national championship? What are some of your favorite memories from coaching at LSU and living in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, winning 2 national championships, developing some great relationships with a lot of coaches that were on that staff. We had a great staff, still friends with all of those guys, including Coach. And then, just still some relationships. And people are still at LSU. Doug O'Quinn, the video guy, is still down there. Sharon Lewis, head of recruiting, is still down there. Sam Nader, the best administrator in college football history, is still there. Tommy Moffitt was our strength coach, is still there. I mean, there's still a lot of people at LSU that were there in the early 2000s, been there in upwards of 20 years. So it was a wonderful place to work. Great people. Scott Woodward's the athletic director. Verge Osbury was there. I mean, there are a lot of people in that administration that are make it a special place.
Jen Del Bianco.
Hey, Will, I think Arik Gilbert was the National Player of the Year last year in the high school ranks. How have you seen him used through 3 games at LSU?
Well, he's been targeted a lot. I mean, he's a really good football player. I think he has 14 receptions, but I think he's been targeted over 20, I think closer to 30 times in 3 games. Really a gifted guy, can really run, big frame, very difficult guy to cover as far as his length is concerned. Really competes hard. He blocks well in the C area. For a freshman, I mean, for any tight end. I mean, he does a nice job. He's a really good football player and a guy that we've got to account for in the game.
I feel you guys have defended tight ends through 4 games.
Well, Pitts had 2 touchdowns in the first half. We did a much better job in the second half. He's an elite player. Auburn didn't really, Tennessee didn't, and Vandy didn't really, take advantage of that position at all. So, again, I think that a decent job on Pitts in the second half.
Ben Brenner.
obviously, I know that Israel played 1 year with Terrace Marshall, and I guess I wanted to ask, has he been able to give you a little bit of a scouting report, and what kind of stands out with Marshall and the kind of playmaker he is?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize it till this morning, and I just asked Israel before our meeting started. He said they played together for a year, so we'll talk again. But Terrence Marshall's a really good football player. I mean, this guy competes. They move him in the slot, they move him outside. He is a really, really good football player. Again, as a 6'3" big guy, has a lot of length, attacks the football in the 50-50 balls down the field. A really good player.
David?
Well, I asked you about this on the Sunday teleconference. When the guys are having a few days off next week, are they restricted from going home if they're out-of-state kids, or maybe just advised not to, what with COVID and everything?
We'll talk about that again next week. We put up the schedule for next week on Sunday, just to give them an idea to be able to plan, with their families and such. But we'll address that moving forward. And I'm going to meet with the senior leadership group again. A couple of those guys came to me about making sure that we have a certain outline of what you can and can't do, and that was important to them. So we'll address that again.
Kyle Thomas.
Coach, following the injury that Species suffered on Saturday, what is the conversation like with the guy that's going to step up to kind of fill his shoes for the rest of the season?
Well, Mo Cobb is going to move over and play the mic behind Ernest. Damani obviously can do that as well. And then Jamar Brown's back functioning very well at the will and the dime position. So we feel pretty comfortable there with those guys.
Savannah Webster, Izzy practiced today. So
kick off and some different things
we'll
that
see,
Spencer was doing.
Sounds like good news.
Positionally. So we're going to have several guys step up for us because, Spencer was a huge, somewhat of a leader on our special teams group, did a great job of getting those guys organized and on the field and making the calls and things. So we've got to have some other guys step up in his absence.
Mike Yuba.
Will, I know you guys emphasize, especially as a defensive-minded coach, just being able to create turnovers. And I think, if I'm right, the last time you guys have been able to create at least 2 turnovers or more in a game, I think you guys are 5-1. What has been the emphasis the last couple of weeks in particular? Because now we're seeing it go up, because I know for a period of time, I think it was the first game of the season, and then going back to last year, you guys struggled to be able to create turnovers.
I don't know if we can emphasize anymore whether we're doing it or we're not doing it. So that's an emphasis of our staff every single day in this building. We talk about the ball all the time. We talk to our team about how important it is to be opportunistic defensively, to take advantage of opportunities and getting the ball off people and identifying violators of opponents, or how they carry the ball and what we need to do to get the ball off of them. So our defensive staff does as good as any staff I've been around of emphasizing those things. At the end of the day, you got to have some guys finish plays like JC did on Saturday. You got to have some guys that have a knack. I go back to Dante Sawyer. I go back to Sky Moore, Taylor Stallworth. I mean, those guys had a knack of getting the ball off people. And, we can emphasize it all we want. At the end of the day, the game has got to slow down for some of our guys. And I think we have some guys that are capable of doing that, but they got to do it on Saturday afternoon. And so that's what we've got to continue to push for. Yep.
And where's that target mark each week? Is it 2? Is it 3?
Three a week.
Colin Taylor.
Yeah, well, I guess with Jazz, what do you remember about him in the recruitment process? What made you guys want to recruit him? I think he called himself just a fat guy when he got back from campus, his words. Just how have you seen him grow so much since he got back this summer?
I wouldn't agree with what he said. I mean, he's a big man. And I think that, again, when you're off for 3 months, especially, and I've said this before with big guys, it's much more difficult than a skill guy to get your wind back, different things that we all deal with, different issues. And I think that obviously there was some there. It just took a little bit more time to get him back in shape. Call it like it is. But a guy that was very flexible in his lower body for a guy that's, I don't know what, 6'6", what the length that he has, but very athletic, moved his feet extremely well. We were able to watch him work out in the spring. Coach Wolford went out and evaluated him, and a guy that could really move his feet, very flexible in his lower body. knew him from Stockbridge High School. Coach Whitley there's a great friend of ours. Really endorsed him as a person. His family's great. His parents are great. And when you meet Jazz, he's a wonderful young man. I mean, he's a kind-hearted young man, and just needed an opportunity. And so seeing his athleticism and then checking out the type person he is, he was going to be a good fit for our program. We're very fortunate to have him here. I think he's a really good player. I think he's got a tremendous upside. I think he's scratching the surface for how good he can be, in my opinion. I do think he played well Saturday, and I think he'll continue to improve as we move forward.
Got time for two more, John, then Hale.
Just quickly, have y'all heard anything from the NCAA? Got any feedback on Jalen Brooks?
Have not, John. Haven't heard anything, and there's really no timetable. Steve Fink had asked me last week that there was a deadline on Friday, but there's nothing. We haven't heard anything, so we're still waiting to hear back.
Thanks.
Hale with the last one.
Going back to Mo, and obviously he enrolled early, and I'm not real sure on how much he was able to stick around here through the shutdown, but him getting in early, how much did that benefit him from a health standpoint and being able to get into the playbook and knowing what y'all want him to do?
Well, it helped him, but in high school, his first game of his senior year, he tore his ACL. So he had surgery and then was not cleared for the 5 practices that we were in. So he was in the meeting room, which is great. And that's certainly beneficial. But not being able to practice, he was here for the most part of the pandemic because he was rehabbing his knee, and the NCAA allowed us to have certain guys that were rehabbing serious injuries to stay on campus. But we had no contact other than Zoom calls as far as installation. So that, I don't know. There's no doubt that any talking football at any time helps. But not being able to walk through or practice, to me, is where you really make some strides, especially for a young player learning a new defense, learning a new position, learning a new offense, or whatever the case may be. So, but he's extremely bright. It's really important to him. He's in the building all the time. He's up here learning, watching film, asking questions. He's going to be a really good player. He's coming off an ACL and he's a freshman. So there's 2 things right there that he's battling to overcome as far as those things are concerned. But as far as the effort and the physicality and the type young man he is, he's exactly what we want in the program.
How good was his baseline of just knowledge of the game when he came in? Because just me personally knowing a little bit of his background and living with Coach Johnson and all that, it seems like he's pretty knowledgeable of just the game itself.
He's really knowledgeable, very knowledgeable. But learning a new defense or learning a new offense is like a foreign language. You've got to assimilate terms, and this is what this means, and this is what that meant, as far as what we do. And the good thing is he's extremely bright and he works really hard at it. And again, we put a lot on our safeties and linebackers. Those guys got to be able to communicate. They've got to be able to make it easier on the defensive line and the corners. And so, but I think he's going to be a really good player here. There's no doubt about it.
All right. And with that, that is a wrap for today.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. It's going to wrap it up. We're going to go and get out of here because it's almost 1:15. Appreciate you all tuning in. Check out the podcast that dropped today, episode 300. Episode 300, Alex McGrath and I talking the Auburn game, previewing LSU. Also, a quick reminder, Yardware Signs. Check them out, yardwaresigns.com. Be sure to go order your Yardware sign, a must-have for any Gamecock fan. And also, watch party Saturday, Overtime Bar and Grill. Doors open at 7, kickoff at, doors. Hold on. Doors open at 5. Kickoff at 7. Doors open at 5, kickoff at 7. Watch party Saturday, Overtime Bar and Grill. Guys, we'll do it again tomorrow, 12 to 1. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.